right, greetings, and this is a video that we are going to talk about making our animal head, specifically our paper mache animal head. So I have an assortment of animals that have been done or in different stages of being done, and so to give you an idea, this is what they are going to look like. They are sculptural, so we can see them from basically all different views. And this one is pretty much done, other than maybe just a little touch-ups with the paint. This is another one that was done of a cardinal. So you can see the paint job along with the sculptural aspect. This is one of my examples that I like to show because it is really big, especially compared to these other two. And while you can go this big based on the base size, I want you to keep in mind that the bigger the piece is, the less time you have to put into the details, which comes into the painting process. So this one has not been painted because it takes a while. So keep that in mind. So before we begin talking about how to make this, I want to talk to you about some of the basics. First of all, if you are so lucky, you will have a kit at your table. The things that you're going to find in this kit or this bucket are newspapers. You're going to find some tag board that's just heavy enough to cut and use for things like ears and possibly just different details. I know one student used it to make a mane for a lion. You're going to find scissors. You are going to find a roll of tape. And if Mrs. Truey's on top of things, you will actually find your base for your animal head. So these are the things that we're going to be using to make our animal heads. Let me grab a couple of these. Now, because we are using this at a table, you are going to have to share. And so the first thing I want to talk to you about is a tape. All right, this tape is going to be used for at least 2, if not maybe 4 different people. And we have to be very polite. We have to be very respectful. Because that's Link's way, and that's just the way it should be. So what I'm going to do is make it so I don't have to rely on this every single time I need tape. So what I'm going to do is stretch it out almost arm's length. You can see this is how long it is. And I am going to rip this off, and I'm going to have this at my, so I can use it. In fact, I'm even going to rip it just a little smaller so that I can have this ready to go. And you can see I'm sticking it at the edge of my table so it's easy to grab. Now when it comes to ripping tape, we're going to use both hands, all 4 fingers, and we're going to rip, we're going to pinch, and we're going to rip just like that. We're not twisting the tape. We are ripping, okay? Now this is a pretty decent average size that you will want to use. I could go smaller, but we certainly aren't going to be using big pieces like this. So I'm going to rip this one in at least thirds, at least half, if not thirds. So that's in thirds. And again, you can see I have these all stuck pretty close to where they're easy to grab. Okay, so I need to start with the actual animal head idea. And, you know, I thought I would tackle a giraffe for this. So looking at a picture of a giraffe, which I do have on the screen, but I don't have it available for you to see. I know that a giraffe has a round head to start with, like the base is, where the eye is. So I'm thinking in terms of I'm going to make a piece of newspaper about like that shape, maybe not that size, but that shape. I know that they actually have the nose, which is also round, so I'm going to make it a little bit smaller. All right, and they even have kind of a lip that's kind of weird there. And then their ears. Well, their ears are not pointed, not quite a triangle. They're actually round and then kind of pointed like this. So I'm going to start with something like that. I'm going to do it on both sides. And you're probably thinking, oh my gosh, Mrs. Truey, I don't know what that is. But, okay, and I have an eye right here. So anytime you're drawing an animal, it's good to break it down into simple shapes. Kind of looks like a puppy or a cow, too. So anyway, what we are missing for this is the horns. So I'll put these up here. Ooh, now it's starting to get a little giraffe-like. But I've got all these simple shapes. And I know that, hey, this is giving me an idea of how I start my newspapers. So now I can say, okay, if I do this, all right, kind of looking like a giraffe. If I take some of these things out, I'm not real concerned about it being exactly realistic at this point, or maybe even completely total. I also know that the snout needs to be a little longer, but this is my starting point. This tells me what I need to start with for shapes. Okay? So, I'm ready to go. With the newspaper, all right, I am not going to just start crumpling up one piece until I break it down into single pieces that are a little bit thinner. So this is an actual piece that's been completely opened up. I'm going to take this and I'm going to crinkle it into a ball shape. And I think that's too small. Okay? So I'm going to take another piece and go around it. But when I crinkle this next piece, let me give you a little tip here. Okay? This next piece, I'm going to fold it, keep folding it over to one side. Okay? And I'm going to roll it and I'm going to fold it and I'm going to keep it into a ball shape. Because what happened by doing this is I now have to only put tape right here on this side versus putting tape all around. But I got to evaluate, is that big enough for the base of the head? Maybe not. Okay, I want to go just a little bit bigger. So I'm going to grab another piece. Ooh, here's a big one. Hopefully this isn't too big. Do I want to use this whole thing? We'll find out. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and again I'm folding, 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 and folding. All right, it's a little pointed, but I know I can also kind of push it in to make it a little more circular. And look at that. I've got the open end only on one side. What we do not want to do is waste tape. I like this project because it is recycling in some forms, but we don't want to waste the tape. That's about the only thing we're not recycling. So I am going to stick to taping just the one side of it. Now, maybe a little more tape, but look at that. It's almost holding its shape on its own. It's exciting. Okay, a couple more pieces here and we're set. And again, I repeat, we don't want to waste tape, which means we're not wrapping this entire thing. Because once I get the shape made, I'm going to be using paper mache, which is going to actually hold everything together a lot better. So then this is actually going to be this part of my giraffe. Now I need to make what we'd consider the nose and the mouth area. So I would take some more newspaper and I would crinkle it up. But I think what I'll do is say, all right, I already got this one made. What do we think? Okay, so you see it's got a little bit of a point here. If I decide that, you know what, that's maybe a little too pointed, I can kind of push it in to shape it. But I think, let me turn it a couple directions. And I'm looking at this thinking, you know, with ears and stuff, I think that'll work. So, I'm going to hold it together. And I'm going to stick a piece of tape that goes from the nose to the base of the head. And I'll do this in a couple of places. And I'm even going to do it on the back side. And as you can see, I'm starting to run out of tape. So this is now the time that I looked around my table and asked my partners, hey, can I use the tape? And I grab a little more tape. And I'm going to break it down into shapes, or excuse me, shapes, sizes that are controllable. And so I think, you know what, it's working, but I think maybe I'll add some more tape on the sides just to make it more stable. All right, so again, this might be a little too long for me, but I'm going to start with this and see what I get and maybe even add or subtract some. All right, so this is going to go on the base after I get some more added to it. And things that I need to add to it. Well, I got the ears and I've got the horns to do. So I already made a horn to show you, and that would go about right here. So let me show you how I made that horn. There is the process of rolling paper that comes in quite handy. And what you can do is take paper and fold it to give it some strength, some thickness, And so I'm going to just do that, because again, I want something that's about that size. That was a good guess on my part. All right, so I'm rolling, rolling. I think that's all the more I need to roll. In fact, that might be just a little too much, but we'll try it anyway. Rolling, flattening. Okay, this is actually the rolling part, because I'm going to take this and roll it. All right, until I get something that's about the same thickness. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to cut it and tape it. I had a little small piece here, so I'm going to use that. Now, some of you might say, well, the giraffe has like rounded ends on the horn, and it might. I'm going to leave this for now. And so again, I would just tape these on. Oop, look at that. I've got one that's a little bigger, so I might have to cut that down or push it down to make it fit. But I think that animals, kind of like humans, aren't quite perfect. So if one was a little bigger, maybe that actually looks a little better. I can decide that later. So these would get taped on just like we taped this nozzle on. The other one thing I want to show you is using the tag board. And the tag board is really nice for flat things like ears. And that was used in this ear right here. That was also used here. Okay? And you can see for the cardinal, it was used for the back feathers, or I'm not sure what those are called. I think they even used it possibly for the beak. So anyway, I made a shape of ear that I liked, and then what I did, see, it's kind of looking giraffe-like. So I made one shape that I liked, and then I put it on a piece of paper, I copied it and traced it, and cut it again. The other option to doing that is just saying, okay, well, I like this shape, so I'm going to fold this over so that I can cut two at the same time. All right, either way, I've got mine ready to go. So I'm going to go ahead and tape these on. And again, I want to make sure that when I am taping them on, that I stick my tape from the head to the ear. It's a little harder to do while I'm holding it. You might even ask someone at your table to help you out a little bit once in a while. I'm going to tape it on the back also. So I'm going to tape it on the back, and I'm going to tape it on the front. Little wobbly, so I think another piece or two of tape would be in order here. And then I would do that for the other ears. So again, you can see that my animal is starting to take shape here. I need to add the other ear, I need to add the horns, and then I'm going to tape it down to my cardboard. Normally most people like to try and put their animal like this, so it's sticking out. Let me hold that up for you. Like this. The only problem about that with a long head like this one is it's going to get a little top heavy and it's going to fall. So I would suggest that you actually put your animal like this if you have a long head like this giraffe. If you've got something a little smaller and ball shaped, then you could possibly have it sticking out. Okay? Now, the trick to putting this on here is at this point, I'm going to get everything taped and ready to go, and we're going to use hot glue. It's going to save a lot of time. We'll use some hot glue to stick it on there, and then I might also use a little tape with it as well. So, last thing, once I get this glued on, there is a permanent marker in your box. You're going to put your first name, your last name, and your period number on the back of this. I should probably do it that way so my name shows up better. So, you'll get to see this when it is done, possibly in the next video, or I may just show it to you in class. But you can kind of see he's coming along. Needs a couple more additions, but he's starting to look like a giraffe or something similar related to a giraffe. And that is the end of video 1.